President Donald Trump is calling on the United States to recognize Israel's claim over the Golan Heights. Well, to make a long story short, the United Nations recognizes the territory as part of Syria, but Israel has occupied much of it for decades. Now, the tweet by President Donald Trump comes ahead of a visit by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last week. And Netanyahu's election is in April. So for the 360 view of this, we have to turn to our political panel, former Georgia State Representative LaDawn Jones and Ned Ryan, CEO of American Majority. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Scottie.
Okay, this was a semi-breaking news, kind of unexpected. So, Ned, President Trump just said the U.S. should recognize Israel, authority over the Golan Heights. Is this what Israeli leaders are calling this a pure miracle? They were even surprised about this. But I thought the president was anti-Semitic if I had listened to the news reports of the last 2 years.
You know, it's interesting, Scottie. First of all, he's really just acknowledging the obvious. Again, with the move of the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, we all know that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. He went ahead and acknowledged the obvious. Israel has controlled the Golan Heights since 1967, 52 years. They annexed it in 1981. It is part and parcel of Israel, and by the way, they occupied it and took control of it after they were attacked and were defending themselves. You know, the UN resolution calls for them to abandon and give it back to Syria. I've been to the Golan Heights, Scottie. There is no imaginable way that Israel could actually defend itself as a nation and give back the Golan Heights. That's completely unacceptable. But I will say this, there are a couple interesting aspects to this. He's really boxing the Democrats in on the corner on Israel. Not only with the Jerusalem move, not only with this move. I got to tell you, as the BDS movement is taking more and more control of the Democratic Party, which many of us, myself included, think is anti-Semitic, Trump is making some really bold, strong moves, not only to show that we're strong allies to Israel, but really making a play for potentially some of the American Jewish vote in 2020.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, Ned, because Ronna McDaniel tweeted this out at President Trump's announcement. She said that if you can read it right there, it says that Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Kamala Harris proudly defended Omar's anti-Semitism. Now they're boycotting a pro-Israel group that had bipartisan support for decades. Make no mistake about it, Democrats are quickly turning into the anti-Israel party. How do you respond to this type of tweet, LaDawn, from the RNC chair?
You know, as usual, the Republicans are doing well at spinning and changing the subject. I thought that Trump ran on America first and worrying about Americans' issues and what's going on. How is it helpful to America to take this stance that we have that goes opposite of what we've done years before and cause a rift between us and our allies and what we have done with the UN for years? This is not good for America. It's not good for Israel. It is good for Trump, and it's good for politics around the world, and that's it.
Okay, Nate, you're shaking your head.
No, this is good for Israel. This is good for the United States. Again, we're showing once again that our strongest ally, we stand with our strongest ally in the Middle East, Israel. I'm not going to deny that there's probably some political machinations taking place, Scottie. We know that Netanyahu's about 3 weeks away from a very tough election. And Trump signaling this right now, of course, is going to be beneficial to Netanyahu. But again, Netanyahu and Trump have a very close relationship. But in the overall scheme of things, great signal, great move. I applaud it, and I hope that he continues to do more of this. I don't want him to have status quo. We've been doing that for decades. We don't need that. That's why we elected Donald Trump.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about the timing of this and the election that is just in April for this one. LaDawn, I have to look at it. Between this and Benjamin Netanyahu coming to the White House next week, holding a dinner, seems like that the U.S. is trying to take a stance in some form of an election, a foreign election. Possibly, could that be interpreted as meddling, something that we've accused other countries of doing in U.S. elections? How do Democrats feel about that possibility?
Well, not only is it meddling, but then you have to ask, based on everything that we know about President Trump, what is in it for him personally? That's always an issue. And is this a setup for Russia and Crimea so that he can say, well, I must be consistent? You know, everything about this stinks. The timing of it makes it extremely obvious. But we know that Republicans voted for Trump because of how obvious he was about how he was going to lie to him to do whatever he wants to do.
No, well, that's the thing. So, Ned, it did come as a little bit of surprise. In the announcement of supporting this move, control the Golan Heights to Israel after, what was it, something like 52 years. And it gives Syria the good view, as you pointed out. But this is just 24 hours after announcing that he's pulling all the soldiers out of Syria for 400, but leaving 400 troops. Was this his strategy all along that nobody really connected the dots on?
Well, I mean, this maybe came as a surprise today, Scottie, but according to some of the reports I read, this has been in discussion for weeks and weeks as to whether he should make this announcement regarding the Golan Heights. Again, some of it's got to obviously be connected, but I want to go back to a little bit of what was stated earlier. This isn't meddling in foreign elections. What meddling in foreign elections look like is when Obama actually funds activities to try and defeat Netanyahu directly in the last election. He is still the prime minister. He is coming to Israel. I'm not going to deny that there's a great benefit to Netanyahu coming into his election. But when you want to talk about direct meddling in foreign elections, you can look at what the Obama administration did in the last election in Israel in trying to take Netanyahu down.
Well, needless to say, both of you have had a politeful, respectful conversation, and I appreciate that because might not have peace in the Middle East, but I can have peace between the two of you. Thank you for joining us.
That's right.
Hey YouTube, thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this last video. We have a ton more great content just like this for you. So if you want more, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. And remember, never stop questioning more.